we get down to the extent of offending people? Where does the offense really start and end? We look at all of those things without getting into the political aspect of the story at all. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Let's get started. Comedy, criticism, consequences. Where's the cutoff? Really finding fairness in free speech. When jokes cross the line, who's to take the responsibility? Should someone take responsibility? Is comedy a free pass to say anything really? Or there needs to be a degree of public lens involved? Intent versus impact. The comedy conundrum. We take a look at that and decode it on the program.
And after that, we take you straight to Kashmir. What you're looking at on your screens right now is Ray. It's been called India's first solar car. It was actually made by a mathematics teacher in Kashmir, Bilal. He's now unveiled this solar car. This is something that took him more than a decade to build, and we're going to get to know his story right here on the show.
Also on the program, a celebration of vehicle diversity. 500 plus vehicles on display at the Raymond Auto Fest. We give you a glimpse of how the world of automobiles in Thane is actually unfolding.
And after that, we bring you the entertainment lowdown of the week. So, of course, we'll be touching on the controversy around that video. But after that, the Telugu cinema conversation around piracy, Ed Sheeran's Bengaluru show, and the drama that was created, obviously, when his performance was stopped. Big Boss's 18's drama. So, a lowdown on everything that's taken place right here on the show. This is your entertainment lowdown.
Comedy, it has always been about pushing boundaries, but what happens when it's gone too far, for the majority at least? Comedy thrives on the unexpected, the uncomfortable, and sometimes the controversial as well. But can a joke stop being just a joke? What's good comedy, and when does it stop being just not funny? When does humor cross the line from clever to crass, from provocative to problematic?
So, unlike film or television, stand-up comedy and comedy in general in India has always operated without clear regulations. Comedians operate on the idea of self-regulation. There's supposed to be an idea that there is a boundary being drawn, whether it is unsaid or said. But if that's the case, why do we see moments that seem to spark outrage? And is all outrage necessarily a bad thing? Where do we draw the line? Should an art form like humor even have a line at all? That's a crucial question.
So today we are stripping the conversation down to the core with its off-limit in comedy. Should something be off-limits at all? And who gets to decide really on all of this? So joining us are two of the sharpest minds in the business. Let me welcome them on the program. Karthik Kumar is back with us on TVC. Hi there, Karthik. Lovely to have you back. Also with us is Papa CJ. Couldn't have thought of two better people to actually have this chat with. And before our audiences go, oh God, yet another debate on Ranveer Allahabadiya. Listen, this is not about him. This is just to say that we want to understand how humor is evolving in India. And when I say evolution of humor with different generations and the rest of it, should there be a line at all? So with that, Karthik, let me give you the opening remark. Are you disgusted by the fact that everybody is jumping on this on the comedian? Are you disgusted by the fact that why this should actually be national debate? Or are you saying, hold on, there needs to be a chat about this amongst the community?
I think the community is constantly engaging in such conversations. This is not new to us. We are, at all points of time, stand-up comedy itself is a performative medium, which means that we are always amidst audiences, whether we are in a live space or whether we are on YouTube comments, right? So, which means that this is not new to us. We've had multiple such discussions in microcosms of social media, right? The fact that it's gigantic right now and it's making headlines right now is peculiar, but not new. So this is I think this is part of the unfortunately a part of the trade right now.
Right, right.
Okay. All right, let's go over to Papa CJ to understand. Papa CJ, you're someone who has been cracking jokes in stand-up comedy like this for decades. In many ways, you've shaped the early Indian idea of human. When I say early Indian, I mean for stand-up comedy in particular. And I just want to understand from you, have you seen humor itself evolve? Because a lot of the controversy has been around what many consider as the obscene nature of this joke in particular. Without getting into that, do you think what is funny has changed over the last few years?
I think what happens is over time, not only do comedians evolve, but audiences evolve as well. Now, I started my comedy career in London in 2004, and that is an audience that has been exposed to stand-up comedy for a very, very long time. Now, what tends to happen is, as comedians do a certain kind of joke, eventually the audience expects better. Now, what tends to happen in our country is when that audience starts to expect better, they evolve, but our country is so large that another audience comes and takes their place. So the comedian is not necessarily under pressure to evolve and move in a different place. So I strongly believe that, offense is rarely in control of the person on stage. And also offense quite often has to do with intent. Now, in a live performance, the audience understands my persona, they understand the context, and they understand my intent. If you were to take a recording of that clip and stick it on the internet, then people who are not in that room may take it out of context, may not understand my persona, may not understand what is going on in the room. I think as comedians, we've now been forced to think about not what we say necessarily, but where we say it. There's just so much to say on this topic. And when it comes to drawing a line, very often the role of the comedian is actually to dance on that line. And the beauty is that each time you push that line goes a little bit further. When I started doing stand-up comedy in India in 2008, nobody wanted to sit in the front row.
To be called out.
Now it's the front row that gets sold out first. I've had people come to me after shows and say, why didn't you pick on us? Why didn't you pick on our community? So, it keeps changing and evolving. I don't think in the art form itself, there should be a line. I do believe that comedians should be allowed to joke about anything. But the other thing to keep in mind is, people make mistakes. I've made tons of mistakes. There are jokes I would not do today that I did 15 years ago. So a lot of comics today are just young people. They're kids who've suddenly got millions of followers. You're on a stage, you've got this audience cheering, you get this high. And sometimes you say stuff to provoke, right? To get that reaction. Everybody makes mistakes. Sometimes you got to think of them as kids and forgive and move on. But the flip side to it, and I'm going to go for sort of bet for the other team as well. I have been at open mic nights where there is a 23-year-old comic who has gone up and said something extremely provocative, which has a religious tone to it, speaking out about certain gods and the like. And as a comic, I respect his freedom to say what he wants, but I was offended by the joke. And it wasn't a joke. There was no intention to entertain. There was no intention to be funny. A young audience, average age of 23, booed this guy. And I asked the organizer later, I said, why are these guys doing jokes like this? And, they saw XYZ comic doing jokes like this.
Got it.
And he's famous. So they think it is a shortcut to fame. Now, if you get on stage with the intention to provoke, then you don't have the ability to control how people get provoked and how they react.
Yeah. So
And
Papa
just
CJ is actually being very Papa about it. He's saying, just forgive. He's saying, these are kids, let them be, and they'll make mistakes. And I actually agree with you over there. But can I bring in a nuance over here? So here's a thought, right? This entire piece, was meant to be behind a paywall. It was meant for a mature audience. It was not meant for the masses. Everybody knows that Samay Rana caters to a particular kind of audience base, and this is not the first time, his piece has been provocative or or sort of bordering vulgarity, as many are calling it now. So, Karthik, and come in on this one. So, do you think the fact that it had mainstream clips out of that, so what Papa CJ is saying is actually right. Clips out of that were put out on social media, which what provoked people out of context. Do you think then in that way, is it fair to judge an entire genre of comedy perhaps, which could be one way?
Yeah, you're talking about a very, very mature concept right now, which I hope exists in our country, which is consenting adults in a forum. Right, we have consented to consume this right now, and we're interested.
You're paying
in
for it.
More of this frequency. Absolutely. All right. So, which means that if it's spilled into other forums and other forums got access to it and they got offended, that offense is technically, in that case, it's irrelevant per se. All right. So, which means that they were perfectly within their boundaries that they drew for themselves, and they also narrow casted it into a consenting adults room. Right. So, which means that there are so many such rooms that exist in the country today. And I would like to believe that, yes, consenting adults getting into a room, not participating in anything illegal is absolutely okay in our country. And therefore, I would, at all points of time, if the constitution, if the law of the land stamped down upon me and said, I am not allowed to do this, I may be upset as an individual, but as a comedian and as a citizen, I'll be like, okay, fair game.
So, Sonal and Toya, may I jump in on the
Yes,
whole vulgar?
please, yeah.
So let me ask you a simple question. Why does a comedian crack a joke?
To make people laugh is the
provoke a
simpler.
response.
Exactly right. To make people laugh. My argument is actually, it is the audience that is vulgar. Right? Today, if an audience stopped laughing at a joke, the comedian will stop cracking it. Right? So the only reason comedians keep cracking certain jokes is because audiences keep laughing at them. So if you're reasonably elderly and are worried about the exposure that your children are getting, raise better children. You know.
So this is, Papa CJ, this is where, earlier when we were talking a little bit about the evolution of comedy, this is kind of what I wanted to, us to touch on a little. The fact that now you have, humor that is being put out on YouTube, you have responses coming in, it's an online sort of space where there's ragging, there's roasting. Roasting has become a very popular form over the last few years.
It's a full genre.
Yeah, so does it speak more to the people we are, and is that maybe where this conversation should be, that India's sense of humor is changing? Where should we take this?
I mean, India is, you can't say India's sense of humor. We've got, what, 1.4 billion people?
Yeah.
The beauty of our country is no matter what your kind of comedy, there is an audience for you, right? See, stand-up comedy is an incredible art form, right? It is life-changing for people who practice the art form. It is an outward expression of an inward journey. The journey is inward. So for the comedian, you get to a point where you are your truly authentic self. And that translates into other parts of your life as well. So your job as a comic is to be true to yourself. You actually don't care about the audience. Eventually, your audience finds you. If you're trying to be free or not, your audience will see through you. If you look at the more famous comedians in the world, Russell Peters, Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, they're not going to change what they do depending on who's in the room. Right? I mean, Chris Rock might if Will Smith is in the front row. But, but the other thing to keep in mind is that today, if I'm doing a public show that is advertised as being adult, I will do what I want. You have bought tickets to come and see that. But if I'm doing a corporate show, it is my duty as a professional to respect the boundaries and guidelines of that space.
Can I just butt in there, Papa CJ, because I think you've brought in a very interesting aspect of consequences and responsibility. And you said in your first answer that it wasn't meant for a stand-up, it was supposed to go on YouTube, different contexts, etc. But shouldn't social media content creators who are they understand social media like anybody else, know that everything they say will go online? Clips will be made out of it. People will be following it. Shouldn't have others on the panel known that, I have people who follow, say, spirituality, etc. They will watch this content. Should that be self-regulated? Both to Karthik and Papa CJ, that one actually.
Karthik, you want to go?
No, I think the social media is actually extremely self-regulated. It is self-regulated from the artist's perspective because we get trolled so badly for even a great joke, which worked very, very well for all the people intended for it to be fine. Right? When you put something on social media, you're basically letting the cat out of the bag into the universe. Right? Somebody is going to look at that cat and say, this is a cougar. This is not a cat. Somebody's going to look at that cat and say, this is an alien. Right? So the cat is out in the universe.
I think it's a
they
morning
be
show.
aware?
I
No,
don't
there's already a forum there.
I
Which,
think it's a morning
No
show.
cougars here.
sections which-
Yeah, no cougars here. Oh, you realize,
oh
right?
my
You could have
God.
offended people.
Look
by saying that. I'm
look
glad
at the
you
two
said
people
that
who
is not
laughed at the joke. Now that's
I'm
on you
happy
now.
this is getting meta though, in the sense that we're making jokes in a but no, it's beautiful.
No
Can I-
clips on social media for this
Yeah,
time.
this entire last portion. But no, can we also ask you this? See, we've yeah, please go ahead. No, go ahead and
want to
then I'll,
jump in.
yeah.
So there are two aspects to this. One, I'm not very qualified to answer this question because I mostly do live stand-up. I'm not a fan of sticking things on the internet. I prefer the live audience. However, for example, when Charlie Hebdo happened,
Yeah.
now you can have debates till kingdom come on whether it was right or whether it was not, but don't pretend to be surprised that it happened. Now, if you're gonna, so today as a comic, when you are doing a joke, you know that there are certain people who will be offended by that, right? Or certain people who may come after you for that. Now, you have to take a call whether making that point is more important for you, or in some cases, your personal safety is more important for you. Now, me personally as a comedian, I have no problem teasing people. I have no problem embarrassing people, but I'm not a hurtful comedian. So if I see somebody in the room and I know there is a certain joke that will be offensive to them, personally, in most cases, I would make the choice not to make it. But that is not my choice to make for another comic. Right? It is up to them, knowing fully well the reality of the world we exist in. So then that's up to them. For some people, choose to use comedy as a vehicle
Sure.
for bringing up certain social points, for being political. That's their choice. Some of us may just want to do naughty jokes or clean jokes or whatever the case might be.
You're saying there should be room for everyone and let the comedian then pay their own consequences, because here you see apologies being pushed out. All India's got latent content being put away. Samay Rana has put out an apology saying that I just wanted to be funny. I didn't expect this and I will cooperate with authorities, etc. It's sort of gone to that level. But Karthik, you've been quiet for a while. So I want to understand from you.
I think, who's watching social media, all right? Who's watching India's Got Latent? It's a lot of young people out
Yeah.
there. And they are witnessing, where they're witnessing certain things being said on stage, which is being said in their home as well. They know their father figure in their house is using bad language, but will in public go and say, do not use bad language, right? So it's the hypocrisy of that situation right now, that the youngster who's watching it right now saying, hey, wait a minute, I know my parents use this language at home, or I know my parents use this language when they're with their friends. Why is it not okay to use it on YouTube? Right? So I think a lot of youngsters are even listening to possibly this discussion and saying, hey, are we okay being hypocrites, or are we okay to understand saying, hey, aise ho jata hai yaar. It happens. This kind of language is part of our parlance right now, and therefore, if it's tomorrow paraded as funny right now, it is equally funny if my father says it in front of his friends. Right? So we're setting
It's probably
norm
funnier
for
if your
young
father
people
says
watching.
it. Huh?
It probably is, and I think a lot of young people are watching this and saying, okay, now this seems a little hypocritical. Where do I stand on that? And I think that conscience keeping that young people are going to do for themselves is very, very critical. And I truly respect young people to be able to witness this and make a decision at the end of the day, saying, I'm going to continue to listen to that joke or not. So I think it's a
Choice.
healthy discussion. Even blowing it up is a great discussion.
Can I just ask you though, so much of the shock around this was around mummy papa ke baare mein. How can you talk about parents like this, right? That in Indian culture we don't touch on that topic. And I just want to understand from you your thoughts on that, that there should be a topic that we just don't go near. And I also want to ask both of you, and be honest with us here, are there topics that both of you deliberately don't touch on? Papa CJ, you were saying that you are sensitive to people in the room, but that didn't tell me, you know, are there topics you just entirely stay away from? And do you sometimes grapple with yourself? Is this coming from a place of fear or not wanting to hurt people? Because those are two separate things.
I think most importantly for me, it comes from my own value system. So if there are elderly people in the room, I will not pick on them, right? Or I will not crack jokes about them. Or anything I do with them will be very, very safe, and I will ensure that I'm paying them sort of due respect, and it's something that is not offensive in any way because of my values of respect for elders. So I think it eventually what you do comes from your own value system. Is there a particular topic I will not do any jokes about? I wouldn't put any such blanket thing. But I think what's more important is how you deal with the topic as opposed to the topic itself. And more than comedians, I mean, sometimes, why do people take comedy so seriously? Here are guys telling jokes who want to just make people happy, right? If you want to be concerned sometimes. And again, it's not for me to say who says what, but if you look at some of the influencers today who have millions and millions and millions of followers who are giving life advice to young people in a country that has so many young people, right? Listen to some of the stuff they're saying. You know, I'm very glad that now I think around financial influencers there is some thinking about what you can and cannot say, right? I think that is a greater area of concern where you're actually impacting how people live their lives as opposed to maybe something naughty or somewhat offensive that somebody laughed at, you know. Again, I'm not saying that you should necessarily...
Papa CJ, your somewhat offensive could be somebody else's. This
Exactly.
is just crazy, right? Like there is a full there is a spectrum here. And everybody is going to fall on different sides of the spectrum. And I truly believe that nobody even cared about India's Got Talent till the time the clip went viral. Nobody even knew it existed, largely majority. And now because of this controversy, everybody wants to go and look at that video. Kya hai ye? But
Also,
Karthik,
nowadays you have these 24-hour news channels, na? You need to create some news.
But I want to, sorry,
True,
just
true, true.
Karthik, before you come in, I do want to disagree here and say India Got Talent was really popular, getting millions of views with young people.
Popular. It's
Yeah.
hugely popular
So
with
it is
its
very
target
popular.
audience as such, and it's a
There is
microcosm
an
which is
audience for
extremely
this.
valid. And I think I don't think mama papa jokes are off limit. I don't think I would like to think of it that way. I would like to say that most comedians say my mama, my papa, and they go completely to town about their mama and papa, and that's how we approach it, right? This is my experience. This is my... I don't think we have a genre of your mother so in India yet. Your
Yeah,
mother
there is
off
a whole
limits.
genre.
My mother,
But
my
Karthik,
mother is
that's
has
what
defined my Lakshman Rekha for me. So.
But Karthik, that's what Harbhajan said. He told Andrew Simmons.
I was just going to say
About
that's
his
where
mother or,
you leave the
Harbhajan's
slangs to
mother?
that. You leave the slangs to cover all of it. But gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I wish we had more time to sort of carry on with this discussion. But it's truly fascinating and good to see a lot of chatter about this nonetheless, to see where can we take the boundaries of humor to, where does the real buck stop over there.
All right, let's shift focus entirely from this to something entirely different in the next few minutes. On the other side of the break, we're taking you to India's solar car revolution, a really exciting invention coming out of Kashmir. This is a mathematics teacher who has developed a solar car. We'll see it in just a few minutes.
Hexaware Technology.
Your pictures in it, and as they were, giving me the shakedown, we're looking through it, and I have the picture of you and my mom.
Everybody knows Mark. He's become a very famous guy. He's a very happy guy tonight.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now. And I want you to know that I am not a hero in this at all. And President Trump is a hero. These men that came from the diplomatic service are heroes. And I am so indebted to, and I also should make mention that President Putin was very generous and statesmanlike in granting me a pardon. I mean,
What were the terms of this deal, Mr. President?
Very fair, very fair, very reasonable. Not like deals you've seen over the years. They were very fair. And I think that's going to lead, and somebody else is being released tomorrow that you will know of. But we wanted to get this done, very important. And Steve wanted to actually fly over and get Mark and get him home properly, because it could be a pretty tough trip.
so is this the beginning of a deal, sir? Is this the start of?
I think there's goodwill in terms of the war. 1.5 million soldiers, young people have been killed.
I've met many of them.
Yeah, and it's a terrible thing going on, so we want to get that done. I think this could be the very important element. You could be a big part of it, actually, because it could be a big, important part of getting the war over with Ukraine. And we appreciate President Putin's what he did. He was able to pull it off for you, right? He was able to pull it off. We think, and you're here, so
Eric still coming tomorrow, or are you waiting until you need to go?
we'll see what happens.
Have you spoken with President Xi?
Welcome back. We promised that on the other side of the break, we were going to take you to some exciting inventions that are taking place across our country. Technology in the spotlight next. With this invention, a mathematician, he's a teacher from Kashmir who invented what just might be the perfect environmentally sustainable car for a country as hot as India.
Now, this is a car that runs on solar power. Bilal spent over a decade developing this Baramulla and in Baramulla actually, and our colleague Ishan went in to understand this and also perhaps take it on a spin. Let's check it out.
Meet Bilal Ahmed Mir, a math teacher by profession who dedicated 3 hours a day for 13 years to develop this solar car. The car has obtained a patent from the Controller of Patents. Mir started from his old car in the garage without any financial assistance and ended up spending around 20 lakh rupees to develop this. His passion for clean energy solutions led him on a remarkable journey. The Ray has gull-wing doors embedded with solar panels which overall produce 1 kilowatt of solar power. There's also a high-tech battery management system for consistent power backup and autonomous parking sensors for safety and convenience.
इसमें मुझे यही आइडिया आया कि मतलब जैसे मैंने टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया में पढ़ा था 2009 में कि मतलब इसमें आगे जो पेट्रोल डीजल क्राइसिस बहुत हो जाएंगे एक्सपोनेंशियली आगे इनका जो रेट है वो इंक्रीज़ हो रहा है तो मैंने सोचा कि कोई फ्री एनर्जी में देखूं तो फ्री एनर्जी इसमें सोलर एनर्जी आती है जैसे बहुत सारी अभी जो कंपनीज है वो ऑटोमोबाइल में ये हाइब्रिड कार्स बनाते हैं हाइब्रिड कार्स में एक तो पेट्रोल और इलेक्ट्रिक आता है क्योंकि वो चाहते हैं कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा जो कस्टमर्स है इनको मतलब हाई रेट में पेट्रोल या ज़्यादा मतलब नहीं मतलब करना पड़ेगा हाँ जी
Mir sees his innovation as a step in promoting eco-friendly transportation throughout the region. The sensor-optimized solar panels adjust their orientation to maximize sunlight capture, and the gull-wing doors feature music-responsive rear lights.
अगर मैं ज़्यादा सोलर पैनल्स इसमें लगाऊं तो गाड़ी मतलब जो गाड़ी का मतलब ना लुक वो भी मतलब ख़राब नहीं होना चाहिए तो मैंने इस हिसाब से इसको इंस्टॉल किए ताकि गाड़ी का लुक भी अच्छा लगना चाहिए और ये पावर भी जनरेट करना चाहिए इसके बाद इसका दूसरा जो सिस्टम है वो रीजनरेटिंग सिस्टम है जो आजकल के लग्जरीज कार्स में आते हैं यूँ ही इसको हम ब्रेक दबाएंगे वहाँ से BMS सिस्टम इसका वो चार्ज हो जाएगा और इसका एक म्यूज़िक सिस्टम है वो बहुत ही इनोवेटिव म्यूज़िक सिस्टम है वो भी में है और इसमें और एक चीज़ है इसमें इस गाड़ी के साथ SCSS सिस्टम में है वो भी मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा और इसमें एक फंक्शनल बॉक्स मैंने रखा है वो जो गाड़ी को पूरा ऑपरेट करेगा और इसमें मतलब हम ऑटोमेटिक पार्किंग में रख सकते हैं ये गाड़ी और 2022 जून 22 में 2025 हाँ जून में इसमें 360 डिग्री का भी टायर्स होंगे
The big question, one that's pretty exciting, is that can Bilal's Ray become a beacon of light for a pollution-free tomorrow in India?
Seeing the environmental challenges posed in Kashmir, a mathematics teacher has designed this solar-powered car, which is very innovative in nature. Now he has been working on this from several years, but now this prototype is ready, and he's saying that he believes that his idea and innovation will result in betterment of environment in the future. The car looks like any other supercar in its design, but is also going to help if it hits the roads. It's going to help to bridge that important gap of trying to find renewable resources to ensure that there are cars which are made in India and are sustainable and can be an answer to the environmental challenges, particularly when we talk about pollution and reducing the emission. And these cars and the designs will somehow try to bridge that important gap of trying to ensure that eco-friendly vehicles like these hit the roads and help the humankind. With Bashir Loon in Srinagar, Shanwani for CNN News 18.
All right, with that, it's time to take you through stories from India and across the globe. Let's start with what's happening in Bollywood. In a powerful representation of Gaurav Gupta's couture collection, Across the Flames, Sonal Kapoor seamlessly embraced the avant-grande celestial ensemble featuring a metal breastplate. Sonal Kapoor wore the gilded drip metal breastplate over the cosmic tulle dress with satin sculpting details styled by Rhea Kapoor. Sonal Kapoor also adorned the sculptural piece of art for Kiristas and looked absolutely surreal in the iconic custom couture.
And now we take you to Paris, where flavors blossom for Valentine's Day. Remember, it's just around the corner. We're looking at Valentine's Day tomorrow. And this is an edible flower shop in Paris. The florist Blanche Piat has picked a stem of white hoary stalk flowers in that visual as she prepared a bouquet in her Paris shop. But these flowers are special because they're edible. You can eat them. Bouquets are on sale for romantics who wish to buy the traditional gifts and eat them too.
US model and television personality Kendall Jenner walked the runway for Calvin Klein's fall-winter presentation of the New York Fashion Week on Friday. The show marked the debut of the brand's first female creative director, Veronica Leone. The runway for the US brand's fall-winter 2025 collection took part at the Calvin Klein's headquarters and displayed models draped in oversized blazers, trench coats and the classic CK denim.
Negativity's wearing thin. Negativity's wearing thin.
And next, Renee Zellweger. You love and probably remember her from Bridget Jones' Diary. And now Bridget Jones, everyone's favorite, very sassy, very cutting British woman, is returning with the latest version of the film. While promoting the latest movie in the hit series, the actress said that playing the relatable character on and off for the last 24 years has allowed her a chance to exorcise her own demons. Listen in.
Want to play someone, it gives you the opportunity to sort of exercise your own demons and, you know, sort of revisit your own moments of awkward public humiliation and getting it wrong and messiness and chaos and, you know, and imperfection. It's very liberating, and I love Bridget. Can you tell? I love Bridget Jones. I love Bridget Jones. Yeah, she changed my life professionally and personally.
All right, Papa's selection thriller Conclave has the most nominations for Sunday's BAFTAs. That's going to happen on the 16th of February, but faces stiff competition from the epic period drama, The Brutalist. And also, even from some of the award season front runners, the Anora. Now, David Dial takes a look at the film leading the race for Britain's top movie honours.
The British Academy Film Awards take place on Sunday, but unlike last year, when Oppenheimer dominated, there's no clear front-runner. Let's take a look at the movies leading the 2025 BAFTAs race.
If there was only certainty.
A story about scheming cardinals deciding who to elect as Pope, Conclave leads the nominations. It secured 12 nods, including Best Film, Director for Edward Berger and Leading Actor for Ralph Fiennes. Although it faces stiff competition, Digital Spy Movies editor Ian Sandwell says Conclave is one to watch.
Because it's important to remember, Edward Berger, the director's last film, All Quiet on the Western Front, holds the record for the most BAFTA wins for a non-English language film. So there's every chance they could show that local love again for Conclave.
When dogs get sick, they often bite the hand of those who fed them.
But odds currently favour epic period drama The Brutalist to win Best Film. It's a 3.5-hour drama in which Adrian Brody plays a Hungarian immigrant trying to rebuild his life in the United States post-World War II. Tim Richards, founder and CEO of cinema operator View, said he'd be surprised if Brody, who's picked up multiple awards already, didn't win the leading actor category.
It's an extraordinary performance that he gave, and I think that certainly he would be the front runner.
Surging to the front of the pack, though, is Anora, directed by Sean Baker. It's a quirky comedy about a young, exotic dancer who marries a Russian oligarch's son. And it's been gathering awards season momentum.
It felt like for a while that The Brutalist was the front runner, but now it seems like Anora's coming out there as well because it's won some massive awards out in America at the Directors Guild and the Producers Guild.
Mikey Madison is up for Best Leading Actress, facing off against the likes of Demi Moore for body horror The Substance and Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths. Other movies in the Best Film category include Bob Dylan biopic A Complete Unknown and Spanish-language crime musical Emilia Perez. The latter stars Zoe Saldana as a lawyer who helps a Mexican cartel leader, played by Carla Sofia Gascon, fake their death to transition from a man to a woman. It had been an early awards front-runner, but its campaign has lost steam amid controversy surrounding Gascon. Last week, she apologised for past social media posts denigrating certain groups.
It seems to have slipped back a little bit and lost its momentum. It might still come back because it's a fantastic movie.
Emilia Perez has 11 nominations, with Saldana up for a Supporting Actress award.
All right, we're taking you now from that to something actually closely related. We're staying in the entertainment world. We're shifting focus to the latest updates, everything that's taken place in this last week of Showbiz. You, of course, have Ranveer Allahabadia's remark that sparked quite a bit of controversy, what we were initially touching upon in our first segment. The Telugu film industry is cracking down on piracy. Ed Sheeran's street performance generating so much chatter before it met an unexpected halt.
In fact, there was a post online which said, just give Ed Sheeran an Aadhaar, considering the number of Indian artists he's actually, collaborated with. So here's a lowdown on everything that's happening in India in the world of entertainment. Here's a roundup.
Hello everyone, let's take a quick look at the week that was. Popular YouTuber and podcaster Ranveer Allahabadia, known as Beer Biceps, received massive backlash for a controversial remark he made on India's Got Latent. His sex with parent comment, seen as vulgar and offensive, has sparked outrage on social media, with an official complaint being filed with the Mumbai Commissioner and Maharashtra Women's Commission. Meanwhile, Ranveer has posted an apology admitting to a lapse in judgment. Amid all this, he lost thousands of followers on social media, with singer B. Prag cancelling his appearance on the Beer Biceps podcast. In other news, the Telugu film industry has launched a war against piracy. The decision comes after the recent illegal distribution of films like Pushpa 2, Devra Part 1, Game Changer, Tandel and Hanuman. The films were illicitly made available on various websites hours after their official release, with their high-definition copies reportedly shared across WhatsApp and Telegram groups. Speaking at a press conference in Hyderabad, veteran producer Allu Arvind said that piracy is rearing its ugly head again and added that complaints have already been made. He further called for stringent legal actions against those involved in piracy. British musician Ed Sheeran's impromptu jamming session on Bengaluru's iconic Church Street ahead of his concert was abruptly halted by local police due to the absence of official permission for such a gathering. Hours later, Ed broke his silence as he shared a short statement where he wrote that they had permission to busk and that it was not just him randomly turning up. But the Bengaluru City Police clarified their stance, stating that while they hold immense respect for artists and their contributions, public performances, especially those attracting large crowds, require prior authorization to ensure public safety and order. Bigg Boss contestant and actor Chum Darang strongly spoke up against controversial remarks made against her by YouTuber Elvish Yadav. In a podcast, Elvish mocked Chum and called her vulgar, even questioning her name and her performance in Gangubai Kathiawadi. Taking to Instagram stories, Chum wrote that disrespecting someone's identity and name is not fun and mocking someone's achievements is not banter. While Elvish later admitted to deleting the said part from the podcast, the Arunachal Pradesh State Commission for Women appealed to the National Commission for Women to take action against him for his alleged derogatory and racial comments against Chum. A while back, Chhawa drew criticism for a scene where Vicky Kaushal, who plays Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj, performs a lezim dance with his on-screen wife Maharani Yasubai, played by Rashmika Mandana. Soon, director Lakshman Utekar met Raj Thackeray to address concerns and announced that he would remove the scenes from the film. But ahead of its release, the CBFC has suggested another list of modifications. Reportedly, the board has ordered the makers to remove a scene depicting Maratha warriors wearing saris, mute a few words, replace a bunch of phrases and introduce a disclaimer stating the name of the novel from which Chhawa has been adapted. The word Mughal has further been changed to Aurang. Well, that's all for this week. See you soon.
All right, next we bring you a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's take a look first at markets. GIFT Nifty signaling a flat market opening for Indian equities. Wednesday actually marked the 6th consecutive day of Indian equities falling on the trade war and inflation concerns. US markets closed low on hotter than expected inflation data. Asian indices were mixed in early trade today, and crude oil prices fall as markets are expecting Russian supply constraints to ease. Gold has stayed steady in international and domestic markets.
All right, let's look at a sector in focus this morning. Sales of medium and heavy commercial vehicles that had slowed down in Q2 gained momentum in the third quarter. The pickup in volume was led by increase in consumption demand during the festive season. Better flow of government capital expenditure in the second half of the third quarter was also supportive. Exports are also seeing an uptick. You can log into Money Control Pro to find out more about India's commercial vehicle sector and various other actionable insights on the markets. It's a premier destination for all the investing views and financial insights you will ever need, brought to you by Money Control. All right, with that, another very quick break. When we come back, we'll take you through our video of the day.
MDH का किचन किंग
pictures in it, and as they were, giving me the shakedown, we're looking through it, and I have the picture of you and my mom.
Everybody knows Mark. He's become a very famous guy. He's a very happy guy tonight.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now. And I want you to know that I am not a hero in this at all. And President Trump is a hero. These men that came from the diplomatic service are heroes. And I am so indebted to, and I also should make mention that President Putin was very generous and statesmanlike in granting me a pardon. I mean...
What were the terms of this deal, Mr. President?
Very fair, very, very fair, very reasonable. not like deals you've seen over the years. They were very fair. And I think that's going to lead, and somebody else is being released tomorrow that you will know of. But we wanted to get this done, very important. And Steve wanted to actually fly over and get Mark and get him home properly, because it could be a pretty tough trip.
So is this the beginning of a deal, sir? Is this the start of?
I think there's goodwill in terms of the war. You know, 1.5 million soldiers, young people have been killed.
I've met many of them.
Yeah, and it's a terrible thing going on. So we want to get that done. I think this could be the very important element. You could be a big part of it, actually, because it could be a big, important part of getting the war over with Ukraine. And we appreciate President Putin's what he did. He was able to pull it off for you, right? He was able to pull it off. We think, and you're here. And you're here. So
Eric still coming tomorrow, or are you waiting until you need to know?
we'll see what happens.
He's spoken with President Xi.
All right, British pop star Ed Sheeran enjoyed a scooter ride with Arijit Singh in his hometown in Bengal. The video of the two singers sort of wading through busy street has gone viral online as well. So that's part one of the video. There's another part, right, Toya?
Right. Just take that in for a second, though.
Yeah.
Look at a famous, internationally famous ginger on the back of Arijit Singh's bike. Now we're actually bringing you visuals from him performing. We just go silent for a second so you can hear him performing his much-loved Perfect in front of an audience of thousands of people there. He's on his India tour as we speak.
Enjoy that, and we'll see you tomorrow. Tata, bye-bye.
pictures in it, and as they were, giving me the shakedown, we're looking through it, and I have the picture of you and my mom.
Everybody knows Mark. He's become a very famous guy. He's a very happy guy tonight.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now. And I want you to know that I am not a hero in this at all. And President Trump is a hero. These men that came from the diplomatic service are heroes. And I am so indebted to, and I also should make mention that President Putin was very generous and statesmanlike in granting me a pardon. I mean,
What were the terms of his deal, Mr. President?
Very fair, very fair, very reasonable. Not like deals you've seen over the years. They were very fair. And I think that's going to lead, and somebody else is being released tomorrow that you will know of. But we wanted to get this done, very important. And Steve wanted to actually fly over and get Mark and get him home properly, because it could be a pretty tough trip.
so is this the beginning of a deal, sir? Is this the start of?
I think there's goodwill in terms of the war. You know, 1.5 million soldiers, young people have been killed.
I've met many of them.
Yeah, and it's a terrible thing going on. So we want to get that done. I think this could be the very important element. You could be a big part of it, actually, because it could be a big important part of getting the war over with Ukraine. And we appreciate President Putin's what he did. He was able to pull it off for you, right? He was able to pull it off. We think, and you're here, and we're here. So
Eric still coming tomorrow, or are you waiting until you need to know?
we'll see what happens.
Have you spoken with President Xi?
Donald Trump on Wednesday discussed the war in Ukraine in separate phone calls with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. It's the U.S. president's first big step towards diplomacy over a war he has promised to end. In a post on his social media platform after speaking to Putin, Trump said the two leaders had agreed that negotiations should start immediately. Putin and Trump also agreed to meet, the Kremlin said, and Putin invited Trump to visit Moscow. Putin last spoke to a sitting U.S. president in February 2022. Donald Trump on Wednesday discussed the war in Ukraine in separate phone calls with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. It's the U.S. president's first big step towards diplomacy over a war he has promised to end. In a post on his social media platform after speaking to Putin, Trump said the two leaders had agreed that negotiations should start immediately. Putin and Trump also agreed to meet, the Kremlin said, and Putin invited Trump to visit Moscow. Putin last spoke to a sitting U.S. president in February 2022, a call with Joe Biden shortly before ordering thousands of troops into Ukraine. At the White House on Wednesday, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the Trump administration was committed to ending the war.
I myself just spoke to the president about these calls, and he told me to tell all of you they were very good calls, they were very positive, and the administration is wholeheartedly committed to a peace deal to end once and for all the Russia-Ukraine war.
Russia occupies around
Good morning, viewers. Hello and welcome to the Morning News Show, where we bring you the latest headlines and insightful stories to kickstart your day. I'm Koina Sharma, and you've tuned into CNN News 18. Well, a crucial diplomatic visit kicks off as Prime Minister Narendra Modi lands in Washington for his first meeting with President Donald Trump since his return to the White House. With trade, defense and strategic ties on the table and fresh U.S. tariffs in play, what's at stake for India-U.S. relations? Let's find out during this entire bulletin. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Washington, kicking off a crucial two-day visit to the United States, and was welcomed by the Indian community at the Blair House. This marks his first meeting with President Donald Trump since the latter returned to the White House. A power-packed schedule awaits the Prime Minister, and Prime Minister Modi will be meeting U.S. President. The two
leaders will meet in both restricted and delegation level formats, focusing on trade, defense and strategic ties. India is expected to push for a fairer trade deal while also strengthening its strategic partnership with the US. Now, the high-level engagements will conclude with a private dinner hosted by the President of United States Donald Trump at the White House. Now, Prime Minister also met the US Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and he is also expected to meet Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy and Mike Waltz. Meanwhile, in a big statement by the White House press secretary, Trump is going to unveil reciprocal tariffs before Modi visit.
Oh, we are so excited to be here. We have people who are on crutches, and they've braved this great winter and the snow. Modi ji, we're so excited to welcome Modi ji to America.
I am a die-hard fan of Modi ji, and I really admire what he's doing for our country, for India, and also today he's going to have some kind of, a favorable dialogue with President Trump. So we are here to support him.
पानी और ठंडक जीतती है कि यहाँ के लोग जीतते हैं, थर-थर कांप रहे हैं, हाथ को ठंड से छुपाए हुए हैं, फिर भी मोदी से मिलने के लिए वेट कर रहे हैं। एक अच्छे लीडर, महान लीडर यहाँ पे हैं और दूसरे महान लीडर से मिलने आ रहे हैं, तो मोदी और ट्रंप का दोनों ही जोड़ी बहुत बढ़िया से ये रहा विश्व के लिए।
I came here from Virginia. We are waiting for Modi ji. I'm a big fan of Modi ji, and he's the best leader. So we are here waiting for him, and we are looking forward to see him.
Well, we're cutting across to breaking input, which is also relevant to PM Modi's visit in US. All eyes are on PM Modi and Donald Trump's meet. Trump is all set to host a dinner for Modi. The high-profile gathering expected to shape the future of Indo-US relations with key discussions on trade, security and global alliances. We'll continue to get you all the live updates, but right now what we're tracking from the ground is that Donald Trump is all set to host a dinner for Modi. These are the latest inputs that we are tracking from the ground, and joining us is Akanksha Suru for a better perspective into the entire situation. A very good morning, Akanksha. What more details are we gathering, and what is expected out of this meeting of PM Modi and US President Donald Trump?
Right. A very good morning to you, Kohina. I think it's very important to highlight that Prime Minister has already arrived in Washington, D.C. after wrapping up his visit to France, where we know he co-chaired the Paris AI Action Summit. And Prime Minister is now going to be the third foreign leader to be hosted in the White House. President Donald Trump took office on 20 January for second term. The earlier ones are being the Jordan head of state, King Abdullah, and of course the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Now, most importantly, before that bilateral takes place, Mr. Modi has already met with US intelligence